Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Accommodation Show. We are back here today with one of my friends from the other side of the world, Dennis Goedheid from Casiola. Welcome back to The Accommodation Show.
Such an honor to be here, Bart. Again, for the third time now, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right. Did you know that we haven't had many guests on 3 times? So you're a gem in rough sand that we're pulling out and getting back on the show, because I think there's a few things about why I want to talk to you again. One is that you've got huge amounts of information, and doing a catch up with you once a year would be a minimum. And then 2, you're so willing to share and to help other people. And I think that's a real testament to Casiola and what you guys do. So for those that are listening, all I'd recommend is pick up your ears, because you're going to learn an awful lot from the journey. How have you been, Dennis? How are things?
Good. Can't complain. I just got back from a month and a half trip to Europe, so it was amazing. Never been away from home and from the business for so long. We opened up Casiola in Spain, so we're now also in Europe. Visited some families, so had an amazing time.
Yeah, amazing. And so whereabouts in Spain?
So we opened up in the Costa del Sol around Marbella, so a little bit north and a little bit south of Marbella.
Yeah, amazing. And that's really interesting, actually. And folks, we'll come back to this later on. But folks, what are we doing today? We're doing the Building It series, where we're going to talk to Dennis about how he built Casiola from that first brick to get to where he is today. There are 550 properties across the world, and always growing, always expanding, doing things a bit different. And now they've actually gone and grown the business into Spain. And what's interesting, I was going to say, is the kind of profile of properties that you guys will be working with in Costa del Sol will be very, very similar to what you guys are looking at in Florida, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a certain baseline that we're looking for. And that's also probably one of the big lessons that I learned along the way in the beginning when we were small, when we were just starting out. We were just accepting anyone that wanted to join us, we would sign on. And yeah, then after a few months and weeks, everything started to fall apart. A lot of expenses for the owner not happy. So we've become very careful in selecting the properties that can be part of the Casiola management program. So we have what we call the Casiola property standards guide that we give to all our people, and that they really need to check for each property if they qualify to be added to our program.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So then you would have identified that in Spain, Costa del Sol, got something that you can replicate across different continents.
Yeah, absolutely. Every home that we manage is unique, so we're not looking for the exact same type of home. I think the charm of vacation rentals is that everything is different. It's not like a hotel room where you know exactly what you're gonna get wherever you are in the world. So every home is like unique, but we're looking for a certain level of quality, and that goes from the way you access the property to the amenities that are present, having like TVs and internet and a fully equipped kitchen and enough bathrooms and that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, we provide our standard like Casiola, triple sheet bedding, all white sheets, the towels, all the amenities that the guests can use during their stay. So we try to build some kind of a standard so you know exactly what you're going to get wherever you stay in a Casiola vacation home in the world. Every home is going to be different, but you know exactly what you're going to get on a quality and service level.
And I'm gonna stick with that for a second. So what I'm not gonna do today, folks, all of the Spain stuff and the expansion into Costa del Sol, we're gonna tackle in a year's time. And the reason why we're gonna do it in a year's time is because I want all your lessons from that year, so that you can just fill us in 10 minutes of all the things you should do and shouldn't do with that, and kind of what worked and what didn't work. I do want to go back to how things start for you, but that standardization is something which I think is absolutely critical that we cover, because you don't have to standardize. You can standardize, and there are a lot of benefits to it, but also a lot of challenges, because you have to get yourself set up and you have to get that working. For let's call it a smaller property management company that might have 10 or 20 properties, or maybe 50 or to 100 properties. I guess you guys have standardized, so you'd say, yeah, it's critical. Is it critical for them, or can you do it both ways?
Well, you can do it both ways. So you can stay small and be a boutique property management company. Do not standardize anything. You deliver a personalized service to your owners and make exceptions for anything. But if you want to scale, if you really want to grow your business, if you're serious about scaling, you have to simplify everything that you do, your processes, your ways of operating, the way things are being done, because you cannot manage 200, 300, 400 properties. If every property is an exception, your team can just not handle it. You're not going to be able to handle it yourself. It's going to be expensive. Mistakes are going to be made. So if you're really serious about scaling, you're going to have to simplify it somehow, everything that you do in your business.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I guess, I mean, the sheets and the amenities are just one side of it, right? And I mean, obviously all the systems and processes, but the things that they receive. But then also from that perspective as well, from a branding point of view, there's an awful lot of benefit as well, I assume.
Absolutely, and even from a procurement standpoint, right? If you can buy the same things at scale, it's going to become cheaper. But then also from a branding standpoint, it's absolutely that's very important for us. We have I actually have some here. We've got our Casiola dispensers for shampoos and soaps and shower gel and stuff like that. So it's branding, but it also streamlines the operation. Everybody knows exactly what to do and how to do it, and there's not too many exceptions. And that really avoids like mistakes, and people get used to it, and training them in the beginning takes a little while. But once they got it, like for example, housekeeping, a housekeeper, once they're trained at the Casiola standards, they can clean any house in our portfolio. They walk in and they know exactly what they have to do and what we expect at the end. And I think that's very important, especially if you have people that you want to move around, or that want to grow themselves and maybe go into different areas. They know exactly what is expected and what to do.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. So I think this is a very nice segue to go back into the foundations and the beginning, because I think that what you're talking about there, the SOPs, the standardized process systems, amenities, all of that stuff is really nice to have once you get to a certain scale and once a business has been running for long enough. But before that, you've got to get going with the business. Tell me the foundation story, Dennis. How did Casiola come to be Casiola?
Yeah, so it wasn't very intentional, to be honest. So I had another business before this, which was an online printing company, something completely different than the hospitality industry. So I sold that business in 2013, and actually my goal was to slow down a little bit. I wanted to keep myself busy because I'm not the one to sit on the beach all day. But I also didn't want to work like 24/7 anymore. So I thought property management, short-term rental management seems like easy enough, not too much work.
Sure.
You're sitting at the pool all day with your laptop, working a little bit. And if someone needs you, they will call you. So to get started, we did move from Europe, from Belgium, where I'm from originally. We moved to Orlando, Florida, the vacation rental capital of the world. And we started with purchasing a small vacation rental company here in Orlando, close to Universal and Disney. So in the beginning, it was just around 20 properties and no staff. It was basically just me and my wife doing everything. So I was doing all the computer stuff, like reservations and owner relations and the accounting part, the marketing part, and my wife was more in the field, checking up on the housekeepers, making sure that the properties had everything that they needed to receive guests. And if guests had an issue, she would take care of them. So that's how it started. That's what I envisioned. And yeah, I have to say, one of the biggest mistakes in my life, I thought I knew how to work hard. I had a pretty large business in Europe and many years of experience, but I can tell you property management is hard. It's really, really hard. I've never worked as much as the first few years running Casiola. It's literally 20, it's nonstop. There's always something. You can never let go of that phone. You can never go to the beach or to the movies. There's always someone calling like, oh, my internet doesn't work or my door code doesn't work.
Yeah,
And that's maybe because they're just the wrong door or the wrong building, but you have to help them. It's nonstop. And that makes it hard. You can never let go of your guard, especially if you're small and you're a husband and wife team and you don't have
sure.
like a business partner that you can hand over the business to for a few hours or days. So yeah, I have to be honest, I really, really underestimated how hard it is.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that, a lot of influencers and course builders and people will sell the dream, right? That this is the quick and easy way to make a passive income, the passive
Yeah.
income dream, right? That this will just kind of take care of itself. And I think that with any business, you just need to get to a certain scale before you can get to a world where you can have passive income for that to actually happen. And how passive it is also questionable. I'm so glad that you said that though, and that you've shared that part of the journey. One thing that I'm really curious about, Dennis, is the purchasing and the acquisition at the very, very start. So, what year was that in?
That was 2014.
Okay, 2014. So a little bit later in the game. I think that short-term rentals had already kind of, as a category, was a little bit more mature than a few others that I've spoken to that might have been around for 15 years, but still towards sort of early days.
Yeah.
You go over to Florida and then you say, we're going to buy the business. I'm really interested about that part. How did you find the business to buy? Why did you choose to buy a business rather than start something yourself? And then the third part of it will be the actual purchasing itself. What was that format? What did it look like actually making that acquisition of those 20 properties?
Yeah, sure. So the good thing about Florida is there's a lot of property management businesses, even 15 years ago or 10 years ago, and a lot of them become for sale to the like average profile 10 years ago of a property manager in short-term rentals was usually some corporate people that had been working for many years that wanted something else with their life. So it was for most of them like a second career, and they thought, oh, I'm handy at home, so I can take care of other people's homes. And then they started the property management business, and then after a few years they retire, or in my case, the couple that sold the business to me got into a divorce, so they had to sell the business. And in Florida, there's a good network with what they call business brokers. It's almost the same as with real estate listings. So you have business brokers that sell businesses. There's a business MLS here in the US where you can search for businesses that are for sale. And it's pretty straightforward. They have all the documents, the P&Ls, bank accounts ready for you to review. So you sign an NDA. You get access to more documentation. You can visit the business, and then you have to make a decision whether you want to buy it and go through with it or not. So what we see for those small business here, you usually pay about 2 to 2.5 times what they call owner benefit. So that is all the income that the owner makes from the business, not just salary, but also if they go on vacation at the expense of the business, or they have a few cars on the business. So that's all added back to the profit. And usually the multiple that you pay for those very small businesses is 2 to 2.5. So
Of the yearly revenue.
no, of the yearly profit. So let's
Oh, yearly
say,
profit. Sorry. Yeah. But yeah. Sorry, I got you. Yes. Yeah. But
so if
the
you have a
whole year
business,
is what we're getting
the
at.
revenue can be
Yeah.
$500,000 in rentals. Let's assume that the owner makes $100,000 in owner benefits, so their salary and any other benefits that they have. Then you can usually buy that business for $200,000.
Yeah. Got it.
So and now the reason why I did that is because when I moved from Europe to the US, it was a completely different country, right? I did not have a network. We don't have family here. I didn't know anyone here. It was like just one big adventure, just me and my wife. Let's try something else. I've run my business in Europe for 13 years. I wanted to do something different in a different environment, but also starting over in a new industry, in a new environment with no network is very hard. So that's why we decided, like, we can start from scratch and try building the business, but it's going to take a very, very long time. Now we can also use some of our money up front and start making money like right away, basically. And maybe it ends up being the same thing, but just for my peace of mind, seeing money coming in and being able to grow the business faster, it was worth it. It's also so much easier if you already have like 20 listings to get number 21. If you don't have any listings at all, getting that first one is always the hardest, because why would any homeowner give their home to you? You haven't proven anything. You don't know what you're doing yet. It's a very big risk for them. So I thought, like, in the end, it's probably going to come down to the same investment, but we're just going to be able to start faster. Now, I realize that not everyone can do that or doesn't have the funds to get started that way. But again, it doesn't have to be millions and millions of dollars I've seen businesses here for sale for 50 to $100,000 dollars, and there's small business loans available to banks. So it's really doable. If you really want to, you can get started with a small business, and you're also going to see a much higher success rate because you get all that knowledge, that business. You're going to learn a lot faster. So if you have the option to do it, I would advise anyone to see if there is something for sale that can give you a head start, a kickstart for your new venture.
Wow. Did you know we're on season 19 of the accommodation show, so done a few hundred episodes, 200, 300 episodes. It's massive. You're the first one that I've actually pried out of that they've started by buying a business. Like, normally, I was managing my own property, then my friends asked me if I could look after theirs, and then they'll do that, and then they'll keep on growing, and then organically they'll grow. So that's really cool, and a really great little insight for people to see that there are other ways to do it. On that, so when you're looking at these different businesses, and you would have had that one that you got with the 20 properties, did you have other options on the table, or was it quite restricted?
You mean other industries or other property?
No, in the short. Well, you tell me.
I did know I wanted to do something with real estate. In my previous business, I was so busy with what we were doing, and I saw all those videos, and people were getting rich with real estate, right? And it was complete. I didn't know anything about real estate. I just had my own apartment that I lived in, but I didn't have any investment properties, and I just wanted to learn more about real estate. But I knew didn't want to become just a realtor selling homes. That's not me. I'm not the salesperson going out there day in, day out just to sell properties.
Yeah.
And then I have a background in marketing and e-commerce. So when I came across vacation rentals, I thought, yeah, that's exactly what I can do. I can market vacation rentals to people that are booking online all over the world. That's what I'm good at. So that's basically how I got into the industry. I looked at a lot of different industries, but there's also a couple of things that I learned earlier in my career. And one of the things that I was really looking for was a business where customers pay upfront. Now, in our printing business, it was very similar. Customers placed an order on the website, and before we would start the printing, they already paid. So we had our money before we had to make any expenses to get their prints printed. Now, This business is even better. Guests already pay sometimes a year ahead, and you've got all that cash sitting in your bank account. I've seen so many people and friends going bankrupt, not because they were running a bad business or they were doing a bad job, but just because they were not getting paid. Their
Cash flow.
customers didn't pay. They went bankrupt, and now you're out of all that money. So I was really
Yeah.
looking for something where I could use my marketing and e-commerce skills, but then also on the other hand, where there was a good cash flow and our customers would pay upfront before we performed the services.
Amazing. So, and then so you had that business that you bought. Any other options in terms of short-term rentals, vacation rentals?
We did look at a couple of other businesses. The reason why I picked this business was because all their properties, it was 20 condos, and they were all located and concentrated in one resort. So it wasn't spread out all over Orlando. It was very concentrated in close proximity. So we could literally walk from one property to the other. And I thought that would be really good to learn a business, so we don't have to drive all over town. And if there's an issue, going 20 miles away. So here, basically, we had our office, our home, and then all our properties in the same 2-3 blocks around us. Ideal
Nice.
learning school to know all the ins and outs. And to be honest, I'm really glad I did, because getting that phone call at 2 a.m. It's one thing getting out of bed and walking 2 buildings down, but if you have to get in your car and drive for 20-30 minutes, that would have made it even harder than it already was.
Yeah, wow. Oh, amazing. So that's definitely a way for people to get started, right? Is to actually buy something and then kind of get themselves rolling. What I'm really interested in, though, Dennis, is so you've got this business, you've got the 20, you understand that you need to learn about the industry and that you don't know that much. It's interesting that you said that real estate was something that you were interested in. So, and you're great at marketing, and then hospitality is something that all of a sudden gets kind of thrown at you. That it's a huge part of what we do, right? Is looking after guests. It's what the whole business thrives on. I'm curious in terms of your mindset and North Star and vision. So you've bought the 20. At that stage, did you know did you have a Casiola sort of feeling in your bones as this is where we're going to go, or how quickly did that happen? Where you knew, all right, this is a path that we're going to go down. How did that sort of the founding of this bigger vision start to come to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So I bought the business. And one thing I want to add to purchasing business, one of the advantages is also it usually comes with a transition period. So I had a 2-week training from the previous owner that would guide me through the whole process, how they were doing things, the PMS they were using, how they were doing statements, how they were paying the tourist taxes and stuff like that. So that was also very, very helpful. And obviously, I don't do things never in life to stay stagnant. So I had big ambitions plans. I wanted to grow the business 50% in the first year. So we wanted to go from 20 properties to 30 properties and double in size in 2 years. That was my plan. And then, the first year came. We took over the business, and we did not grow at all. We
Huh?
actually grow negatively. We churned a few properties.
Wow.
As is natural in this business, people are selling
So,
properties. They have different needs. They don't need to go to Disney anymore. They need the money, whatever it may be. Sometimes it's also just not a personal fit, because if you buy those small businesses, there's always a very close connection to the business owners and the previous sellers. So for 1 or 2 owners, it just wasn't a fit, and we were in such different places and had a completely different view about how to run things. So my ambitious plan of ending the first year at 30 properties turned out that we lost a few properties, and it took a
wow.
full complete whole entire year before I signed on my first new owners. So that was a little bit disappointing, and not what I had planned for at all.
Wow. Okay, another first for me. Normally, people get the business, and because it was just that time,
Yeah.
people were falling over themselves to get into the industry. But also, I would argue that you probably chose the toughest market to go into and start to add properties
I
because
didn't know that at the time, but yeah, probably. But again, the overnight success took a while. And again, don't feel bad if you don't sign on 5 or 10 properties. You see everybody growing around you, and if it's not happening to you, don't think that it's you. Sometimes you just need to prove yourself. And then after a year, we saw a lot more properties reaching out to us. In the first year, we were trying to hunt leads, and no one really wanted to sign up with us because we hadn't proven ourselves. But then after a while, owners started to talk to other owners, and they all know someone that also has a property. And if you're doing a really good job, there's going to be word of mouth, and they're going to refer people to you. So it really got started after that first year. But it was yeah, I really thought like, oh my god, what did we get ourselves into? This is going downhill. This is not what I expected at all. But we kept going, and we did the best we could, and it paid off in the long run. But again, don't think you hear all the success stories where
yeah, I
people
thought it was just a formula. You just buy the formula online, and then you just get properties, and owners fall over themselves wanting to work with you.
if you know where to buy that, let me know. But no, it's a lot of hard work and learning. But again, don't give up too soon. If you're convinced of what you're doing, and that you're doing a good job, keep going, and
Yeah.
the rest will follow.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, what was the mistake? What was the mistakes that you made there? In terms of, you said that you're going to add the 10 properties at 50%, which actually doesn't seem overly ambitious. It seems pretty measured, right? And then you're not getting there. Well, obviously you didn't have the tenure and that sort of thing. But what was the mistake in making that plan to scale and just completely missing it? Sorry to
I,
sorry to be brutal.
yeah. I don't really, yeah. I don't know if there was like a mistake, like one thing that I did wrong, and once I changed it, that it started coming. It was just like, yeah, you knew you don't know anyone, no one knows you. Why would they work with you? And then 10 properties. Now you're
Mm.
saying that seems easy, and now maybe it is. Now we may sign on 10 in a week or 2 weeks, but you have to imagine when I bought the business, the previous owners were running that business for 7 years when they sold it. It took them 7 years to get to 20 properties, and they were happy with that. They didn't have the goals to grow to 200, but it took them a while. And I thought, like, newly coming in, like, oh, I'm gonna almost increase the business with 50% less than a year, knowing nobody, not knowing the industry, not knowing what to do. Maybe I was a little bit overconfident about myself. A lot of things also just take time.
Mm.
Most owners, they don't switch because you meet them, and really things have to happen. They have to be unhappy with their current property management company. Maybe the revenue is down. They want to see how it goes a little bit longer. So even if you have contacts in that first year, I think I planted a lot of seeds in that first year that came into that became a customer in the second year. But even ramping things up, it doesn't go that fast. It's not like selling a product where you go out and you sell 10 a day. You need to build that trust. You need to build that relationship, and then things will happen eventually, but not as quick as I hoped for.
Yeah, right. And then, so at that time when you were first starting, obviously you need to understand the business and you need to work the business, but also there's the goal of expanding and growing and adding more properties on for it to be more of a substantial business. What percentage of your time was dedicated to business development, and what percentage of time was dedicated to operations? And maybe even like, was there also a portion that was down to strategy and that sort of thing?
Well, yeah, of course, if you're small, you have to do everything and you have those multiple hats on. So it's hard to put a percentage on it, but I know a lot of the time and energy went into, yeah, just the day to day
Just
answering to
money.
guest inquiries, meeting with owners, making statements, figuring out how to pay taxes, looking around to see if there were new channels. So I would say in the first few months, the business development side was something additional. If a lead came in, I probably would have followed up on it, but it wasn't that I was going out to everyone and
Yeah.
trying to convince them to us. We were still building the foundation and setting up like the basis, like, yeah, how are we going to respond to guests? Where are the phones going to go? What software are we going to use? So, and then later on, once everything is streamlined, you can spend a little bit more on the business development side. But yeah, to grow this business, you need to focus on owners. So maybe we spend a little bit too long on the foundations and waited too long to go out there and get those owners in, especially knowing now that it takes a few months, maybe before they
Okay.
sign on with you. So if I would do something differently now, I would probably focus a lot more on the sales side.
Bringing the bringing the money in. Well, I mean, I think that's the other side. I think that if I look at your brand and your company, it's really well polished. And in comparison to a lot of property managers out there, they just don't have the sheen that Casiola does. And that's something that you're very well known for, and something that I've been impressed by with your work. It is because you put that attention to that side of the business, is making sure that it looks a certain way, feels a certain way, it creates an emotional response, and it's got the ethos that you've built behind it. But of course, that's expensive revenue. But I think that in a way, if you've got the cash flow, and if you've got enough cash sitting in the bank to sort of buffer you can afford to take a little bit longer before you have to go and start to scramble for money. And sometimes that can be at the expense of the product that you're actually building. Was Casiola a brand at that particular moment, or did that come later?
No, absolutely not. Now we did have the name, so that was very intentional. The colors that you see everywhere, we already had the color from the beginning, but it wasn't as prominent as it is right now. So again, it wasn't the way it is right now from day one. Far from it. It's actually a certain incident that happened. I had a few like network events, and usually when I went out to meet like realtors or other peers, I was wearing a suit like you are right now. You dress up, you're working all day in the field, and then you go home, you change, and then you go to one of these cocktail parties. And one night something happened, another incident in the short-term rental business. So I didn't have time to change anymore, and I was wearing like a polo, and I went to the network event. Was doing my thing, what we usually do, and then a few months later, I came across someone reached out to me and they said, I remember you. You were the guy in pink. They all call it pink. It's not pink, it's magenta, but they all call it pink. And the person didn't know my name anymore. She didn't know the company's name. She didn't remember Casiola, but she remembered the color.
Okay.
And that was like a real light bulb moment for me. That was the last time that I ever wore a suit. From now on, everybody and the company is wearing this color. Our vans are magenta. Our website, our branding, because the color is so powerful. And it still amazes me if I go to conferences or I meet other property management business. Most of them don't even have uniforms. I mean, I don't want anyone to copy our color, but at least to do something, make that your whole team is wearing yellow or blue or whatever it is, so that there's some kind of
There's only
recognition.
so many colors, Dennis. There's only so many colors. I was actually looking at this not long ago, and we were looking at our iBooked online colors, and they were like, okay, yellows, greens. There's only so many colors that are like strong and prominent that you can work with. So inevitably, you're gonna run into someone else's colors, right? Strive is a really great example with the magenta. I don't know whether it was conscious, subconscious. I thought it was really strong. We started to run with the branding, and then it just took off, right? And I'm like, okay, we love it, and we've lent into it. But I think you're absolutely right. I think having that, being bold, I think, is what it is, right? Being bold, doing something to stand out. Shout out to Michael O'Connell from Happy Guest, right? That they've gone out with a really bold brand, and either you love it or you hate it, but at least it's something that's memorable, and you're like, oh, great, it's something which is different. And you don't have to copy someone else's the way they've done it, but being bold is really important. Safely is another one. They go to a conference, you can see them from a mile away. So that kind of thing is super powerful, and I love it. I mean, it means that there's you don't have to kind of figure out what clothes you're wearing every day, right?
No, it's really cheap and it's tax deductible. So there's nothing but benefits of doing it. So I would recommend any company to at least provide uniforms to the team and make sure they wear it everywhere where they go for the business.
All right, so look, we're very, very rapidly going through this episode. So we have two choices, Mr. Dennis, is that we can quick fire a few more questions, or we could come back and do part two in another time. I think maybe we will just wrap up for today, and then we'll save this another recording for maybe next year sometime, and we can have another chat. Especially, I want to talk about Spain, but it's been really interesting because the Building It series is all about helping people build their businesses and to get going. And there's a lot of insights that you can, I'm sure you could share about the journey and everything that you've done to get to where you are today. But I think that the biggest takeaway for me is the fact that you've got different strategies to get yourself started. And that acquisition model is really interesting. And I do encourage people that are interested to get started to look at it, because structuring a deal as well. And if you don't know about different options for structuring a deal, jump onto ChatGPT or jump onto Gemini and ask and say, what are my different financing options? What are different ways that I could structure a deal? Because just say a business is worth $100, $200, $300,000. It does not mean that you need $300,000 in cash to get the deal over the line. You can do all sorts of things like pay it off over a few years. You can use the revenue from the business to pay for it and just contractually put it together. So there's lots of different ways to make sure that you can get the money upfront to get it going. And depends on your seller as well as to why they're selling, because they might be more open to doing different kind of deals depending on why they need to get out and what their motivations are. So for a small business, it is quite accessible to do that. Any kind of final thoughts about sort of that getting started part of the journey for you? Any sort of things that you wish you had done different, or any kind of bits of advice that you would have for people that are like, hey, let's get ourselves going?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think what you said there, I don't think that option of starting by buying a business is considered enough. It is even the case when I closed on the business, I had a check for the seller, but the seller had a check that was bigger than what I had to give her with the trust money. So future revenues of the business. You're absolutely right. So I from day one, I actually have more money in my account than that I paid for the business. Part of it was a promissory note, so I paid off part of the purchase price over 5 years to the seller at a certain interest rate. But again, it builds in more certainty that you're having a good business, because a seller is less likely going to do that if they know that they're selling crap. So that also shows confidence in the business. And then, like you said, there's a lot of other ways to do it. You can finance it. There's an earnout so that you pay a bonus if there's X amount of property still left after 6 months or a year. It's a very safe way actually to get into the business. You get training, as I mentioned earlier. So I think you almost skip like 1 or 2 years by going that route, and it's usually cheaper than buying another property, but the returns are much higher than what you're ever going to get from a real estate deal. So this is something I absolutely would recommend at least looking at. I would probably also do it again. I would not start from scratch if I had the option to buy a business, even for future ventures. maybe go into different industries. So definitely a recommendation. Things that I would have done different. Well, I probably should have looked for a partner because it's really hard, this industry. And as a husband and wife team, none of you can really disconnect. If you want to go away together, you can really do that. So if you could do it with a business partner that is not related, or that is not family, at least you can go away with your spouse and do something, and not have to work constantly, or yeah, scaling as fast as you can, like what we try to do, so that we could hire staff, and that we wouldn't have to be on call.
Yeah. Whoa. Well, that was full of stuff. So all your procedures, standardize them. Look at different ways of potentially getting into the industry. Look for a business partner. There's just so much that's come out of this, and I really appreciate talking to you, Dennis, because I know that the bits that you're sharing with us, the ones that are going to provide the most value to other people. This isn't about your story and about Dennis. It's all about, oh, hey, if you're thinking about this now, your motivation as well is to talk to people and say, hey, join our journey, join the Casiola path, and look at the franchising option. But that's not something that you even mentioned or talked about. But I'm going to mention it. So, folks, if you are looking at this industry, or if you're already in the industry, well worth a chat with the Casiola team. Folks, if you're tuned in on YouTube, give us a subscribe. Share this around. The more this gets shared, the more subscribes, the more likes, the more this travels across YouTube and the internet interwebs, which then means that we can bring on great guests and have them come back and have faith in the work that we do. If you're listening to us, then once again, leave us a review. Give us 5 stars if you want, and let everybody know about what it is that we're doing here. Dennis, you're an absolute legend. I'm looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks' time. Take care of yourself, and I'm 100% sure that we'll be talking again in no time at all. Wishing you a really good day.
Thank you so much.